Welcome to Stribling's New York. I'm your host, Rob Taub, on WOR AM Radio 710 on your digital dial, an iHeartMedia company. Stribling's New York is a show about business, culture, people. We have a wide range of guests from authors, producers, actors, artists, musicians, restaurateurs, as well as people from the world of real estate, of course, who will help you buy, sell, rent a home or apartment. For over 35 years, Stribling has been one of New York's premier luxury brokerage firms, with over 300 real estate professionals, all possessing a unique perspective and skill set, providing the utmost in service and experience. We have a great show today. We have an author, T.T. Monday, who's written a book called Double Switch. We also have jazz legend John Pizzarelli, who's a really fantastic singer and guitarist and son of Bucky Pizzarelli. And as our special guest, we're going to have Elizabeth Stribling, who is the founder of Stribling and Associates, and she is going to tell us some interesting stories about how she built this fabulous business. But right now I have on the phone author T.T. Monday. I have in my hand his amazing new book, which is coming out in a couple of days on March 1st, on Tuesday, Double Switch. Welcome, T.T.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Well, this is a really unique book. So you have a professional baseball player who moonlights as a PI. How did you come up with this?
Well, it's two of my favorite things, and I just decided to smash them together and see what happens.
Because it's everything on paper. If you heard like this pitch, professional baseball player as a PI, I would say never. And I wasn't skeptical or anything when I picked up the book, but I love it, and it's hilarious. And you know a lot about both genres. Do you have a baseball background?
Well, I'm a big fan, but I'm not much of a player, I must confess. But, you mentioned that I wonder whether your doubt about professional baseball player being a PI has to do with how busy they might be, because I think it's helpful to know that the PI, whose name is Johnny Adcock, is one of these one-out left-handed reliever guys.
Yes.
Who comes in and pitches at most one inning a night. So I think part of my inspiration was thinking about those guys and thinking, what do they do with the rest of the time in their lives? I mean, the other 23 hours, and I'm being generous here, counting their warm-up pitches and everything. So
I guess they count their money and and check with their stockbrokers and look at their real estate holdings.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing, because when you're 40 or even late 30s, your career is kind of done. So it does make sense to think about being a PI. So, and what have you written before this? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I have a background in literary fiction. T.T. Monday is a pseudonym, actually. Under my real name, Nick Taylor, I wrote two literary novels, The Disagreement and Father Junipero's Confessor. And then I decided I wanted to take a new direction in my work and try something that I always wanted to do, which was write some hard-boiled detective fiction. I'm really impressed that you had Robert Crais and Alex Berenson on your program. They're two of my favorites.
Well, we only get the best, including you. You're going to be big. I've discovered you.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you.
Tell us. I don't want to give anything too much away. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the novel so I don't talk too much as well?
Yeah, I'll try not to give any spoilers, but most hard-boiled detective novels begin with the detective sitting in his office and a client walks in, usually a beautiful woman. And she has a problem, and the problem ends up being not exactly the whole story. And so anyone who's familiar with Chandler or Hammett knows this setup. And so I thought, all right, let's turn that on its head here in a baseball scenario. This guy doesn't have an office, but he has a bullpen. So let's say after the game he's sitting there and the client comes in. Now, what beautiful woman would walk into a bullpen after a baseball game? And I hit on this idea of a field reporter with a microphone. And so this woman walks in, It turns out she's not a field reporter. She's a woman named Tift Tate, who is a baseball stylist. And this is someone who is completely fictional, I must say. I've checked my sources, and they say this kind of person may exist.
Your answer, that was my next question. I was
Yeah.
rather enamored with the Tift Tate character,
Yeah.
and made me laugh out loud.
So she advises ball players on their appearances and their public images. Everything from the way they wear their pants to the jewelry that they wear in post-game interviews. Her specialty is beards and walk-up music, that sort of thing.
She has her own jet, don't forget.
She does. Well, it's a lucrative business. And it's sort of like a secret, an open secret, who uses her and who doesn't in baseball. She carefully crafts the images of all of these.
So this is not a Romana Clef or anything. You just made this up out of the clear blue?
No, absolutely. I'm trained as a fiction writer, not a professional baseball player. But there's been a lot of speculation on Amazon and other places that I may be a retired ball player, because how could I know all this stuff? And I take that as a compliment to what fiction is capable of.
Well, I've spent a lot of time in the press box at Citi Field, so I do some sports writing occasionally, and I've been in the clubhouse many times, and you've got it, especially batting practice, which I've attended many times. Yeah,
there's some batting practice scenes. Those were fun to write in this book. So anyway, Tift Tate's problem is that she has a client, a Cuban defector named Yonel Ruiz, who is being pursued by the men who smuggled him off the island, and Tiff is worried for his safety. And so that's what gets Johnny Adcock started on this case. But it quickly becomes clear that she's not telling him everything, and that Ruiz is not who he appears to be.
The book is really great. I'm glad that you joined us. What else have you got in the works? How frequently do you write? I mean, when you finish one book, do you go on to the next, or is there a lag?
Yeah, I always have something going. I'm one of those writers who has 2 or 3 projects going at a time. Stephen King likes to say that he has a trunk behind his desk, and when he gets tired or stumped on one project, he swivels his chair around and pulls out another manuscript and loads it up and starts chugging on that one. And that's kind of how I work as well.
Stephen King did really well with the pseudonym of Richard Bachman. I don't know if you know that story.
Right. Yeah, even his sons have pseudonyms.
He wrote a book called Thinner many years ago, and his publisher said, "You have too many books on the market now. We can't have another book. You'll have to write this under a pseudonym." And of course, it became a bestseller immediately.
Yeah,
and they changed the cover to Stephen King writing as Richard Bachman.
As Richard Bachman, yeah, I love that.
Your TT Monday moniker is a great name. It's a great book. I urge everybody to read this. It's called Double Switch, and it's going to be released on March 1st or 2nd? March 1st. Mm-hmm. So just a couple of days from now. Well, thanks very much for joining us, and
thanks, Rob.
I'm looking forward to the next book.
All right. Appreciate it.